I need to tell you a secret. I had an exam today and I cheated on the exam, and to be honest, I feel like it's eating me up inside as if it's haram.
Your father used to do the exact something and would always get in trouble. But you have done it now and cannot go back. I don't know if it is haram. Khair inshallah.
Thanks, Jiddu. Jiddu, I wanted to ask if it's halal to buy lottery tickets. They're so cheap and we could make a lot of money.
I don't know if it is halal or haram, but never think about something like that again.
Okay, I was just asking. Jiddu.
تعبتني, what do you want now?
I just wanted to ask if Sweet's beef gelatin is halal or haram.
You're supposed to check it before buying it, not after. I don't know if this is halal or haram.
Okay.
What now? I am trying to relax. Why do you keep asking me? تعالي هنا الخاطر الله. Just go watch Ahkam SOS. Any question you have, they can answer you. You can call them, message them, anything. Ask as much as you like. They can answer any question from any marja, okay?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, on this show, we take in all of your live questions. So if you have any question you'd like to ask, please send them in via the WhatsApp. Number should be on the bottom there, QR code right there in the corner. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer any of your questions. If you'd like to call into the studio, 0203 515 0199 if you're from the UK. And if you're from abroad, just contact the WhatsApp number there. And inshallah, our technical team will put you through to the studio. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ar. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are we doing, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, fine.
Sheikhna, mashallah, we've got loads of questions coming in. But first of all, the question I wanted to ask you, Sheikhna, was in regards to imama. Now, what qualifies you to become an imam? And I'm talking about the infallible 12 imams, Sheikhna. How were they chosen? Was this predetermined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it hereditary, where it's father, son? Is it the eldest son that gets it? Because we know from Karbala, when Abu Abdullah Hussein, when Janab Sayyidina Ali al-Akbar was killed, they were celebrating because they thought they had finished off imama, that there is no more, there's no imam after, and they thought they had killed the next one, and so forth. Likewise, with Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, there is an issue in regards to who was the next one. Was it his son, Imam Musa al-Qadhim, or his son Ismail? And we have the Ismaili Shias who come from there, and so forth. So what qualifies you to become an imam?
Inshallah. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Indeed, the imam, as you mentioned, has to be chosen by Allah Azza wa Jal. As the Quran states, إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Allah chooses the imam. إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. This ja'al, which is appointment, assignment, is from Allah Azza wa Jal for the Khalifa and the imam on the earth, who represent Allah Azza wa Jal. The biggest mistake that, or call it crime, call it whatever, sin that many of the companions, they fall into the making their own choice for the imama and the khilafah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was this, that they made their own choice. And interestingly, that the second so-called caliph was not chosen by the consensus of the Muslims. The first so-called caliph appointed the second caliph. So he went against the shura, that they claim that khilafah is by shura. So he was chosen by the first so-called caliph. We have a hadith with this regard by the authority from Sadiq alayhi salam when he says Salamullah alayh أترون الموصي منا يوصي إلى من يريد. Do you think that when it comes to appointing the next wasi, the next vicegerent, the next khalifa, the next imam is chosen by us, whoever we want, we wish, without appointed by Allah Azza wa Jal? So it's independent from the choice of Allah Azza wa Jal, like what they did in Saqifa, and they chose their own khalifa. The Imam says, La wallah, he swears by Allah Azza wa Jal, that this is not something independent to be chosen by this individual or that individual. ولكن عهد من الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It is a covenant by Allah and His Messenger. It is a choice by Allah and the Holy Prophet, as he did in the day of Ghadir, when he said, من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه فعلي مولاه, in which Allah has ordered them to make this appointment and choose Ali alayhi salam as the next leader after his demise. لا والله ولكن عهد من الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله لرجل فرجل. So it's a covenant by the Holy Prophet and Allah Azza wa Jal, man after man, so one after one, one by one. حتى ينتهي الأمر إلى صاحبه, until the issue of the imama ends till to the صاحبه, صاحب الزمان عجل الله فرجه الشريف. He will take over the imam and the leadership, in which alhamdulillah all the Muslim sects believe in the Mahdi salamullah alayhi. Now the issue is, is he born, not born? So and the hadith of the 12 leaders of Quraysh is also famous and frequent in terms of mentioned in the books of the Sahih. So you cannot choose your own Khalifa who represents Allah and the Holy Quran and the Prophet. It has to be chosen by Allah Azza wa Jal, as He chose Adam alayhi salam to be the first Khalifa of His, to represent Allah's religion on earth.
Awesome. A quick reminder to all of you is that this is a live show. We do take in your questions. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, please send them in via the WhatsApp number there on the bottom. You can scan the QR code if you'd like. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, you can put your questions in the comment section. If you'd like to give us a call, 0203 515 0199. We're more than happy to take your call. It'll be nice to hear your voice. And if you're calling from outside the UK, you can use the WhatsApp number there below as well. Sheikh from YouTube, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you guys are both well, inshallah. Thank you. Inshallah, you are of the best of health and taqwa. Is praying qada prayers equal, accepted in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For example, someone who wakes up every morning at past sunrise to pray Fajr. So in this instant, if I wake up every day, I wake up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. First thing I do, I brush my teeth, I shower this night, I do wudu and I pray my Fajr Salah because I didn't wake up for the dawn. And I do this every day. Am I going to get the same thawab as praying for the main Fajr? Is it going to be accepted?
Well, initially, if somebody intentionally do not pray within the time given, so between the dawn and sunrise, and they pray intentionally, they want to sleep anyhow, and pray when they wake up to go to work or school or college, then of course they've committed disobedience. It's not permissible for the one to intentionally abandon their, leave their salah and not to pray it in time. You have to pray in time. That's what they call it 5 obligatory prayers. The time given, that's what is adhan for each time given. And of course, the earliest the better. So if you pray with the adhan time, it's called, of course that would be with great thawab and reward. So try to pray on time and do not make it qada, because that's some kind of disobedience. If you go late at work, once, twice, 3 times, you're going to be fired from the work.
Yes.
They're going to sack you because you're coming 2-3 hours late at work. So you have to be punctual when it comes to salah as well. These ibadah of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and Allah knows how much blessings would be brought, especially when you pray between the dawn and sunrise and without becoming qada, of course.
Excellent. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can an unmarried female move out of her family home if it's mentally and spiritually draining to live alongside her parents and siblings? Let's take away the mentally draining and spiritual. Let's just say in general, Sheikhna, is a female, let's say we've got a female, she's graduated from university, got a very, very good job, she's earning, she can earn enough money to live by herself. She can get a studio flat somewhere, or even sharing room or something with another female and so forth. Are they allowed to leave the house, or do they need the parents' permission?
Well, in terms of the ruling, if, let's say, she is immune from any harm, she observes her hijab, her modesty, chastity, and of course she would not cause annoyance or let's say harm to her parents in somehow, because pleasing your parents is very important to satisfy them. رضا الوالدين وبالوالدين إحسانا, to be good towards your parents, as the Quran mentions. So if they have ticked all these boxes, then of course there's no issue with it. She can move out with all the boundaries of the Sharia being observed, and she can live by herself. Of course, it's better, to have somebody with her, let's say, another lady, female student, a colleague, let's say, if she can get married, of course, that's even encouraged to get married early as possible, for example, to avoid being alone in that property. We have some statements that it's not good to be alone in a property, to stay and sleep alone, because one may, ala kulli hal, face difficulties, illness. So you need somebody to be next to you to help you. Maybe call the ambulance, for example, if something goes wrong.
Fair. From YouTube, can I wear a ring that has a skeleton shape? Sheikh, we've seen rings with a skull on it and so forth. Are we allowed to wear those rings?
What is recommended is to have the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla on it. For example, the Adhkar, Subhanallah. We had, for example, each Imam of Ahlul Bayt, so they have something written on the ring. Let's say, La ilallah al-malik al-haqq al-mubin, for example. These adhkar, these verses to be written rather than a skeleton of let's say, a bone and like that.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Whenever I'm thinking about beautiful women, there comes out liquid without any lust or ejaculation. Is it semen? How can I understand that it is semen or clean discharge? Sheikhna, liquid coming out which is not semen or before ejaculation, is that considered najis? What is this?
No, that's tahir, and there's no need for them to perform ghusl at all. It's only when there's ejaculation, the signs of
penetration for that matter.
Exactly, but
straight away you have to
now makes the ghusl wajib for the salah, of course.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna and Akhi, alaikum salam. In one of my previous classes, I'm a Bahraini law student, okay, inshallah you do well in your law degree. My professor made a statement that mahar is basically legal prostitution. How would you rebut her statement? Sheikhna, dowry that we give when a female is to get married to a man, she has the right to ask for mahar. Now others are saying that, oh, she's selling herself for X amount of money and so forth. Others will argue that no, this is her right. She's allowed to ask for this. And furthermore, it is a sort of security that in case something goes wrong in the marriage, or if the husband passes away, there is some financial support and backing for the female and so forth. So how do we refute those who are saying that no, mahar is a form of selling yourself?
I mean, as you mentioned at the end of your statement, which is completely right, in terms of securing this lady after divorce, for example, or let's say after the death of the husband, that there's something in the hand of the woman, for example, to secure herself. But anyhow, we have our own ahkam, we have our own aqaid, we have our own Islamic morals and ethics. Others have their own aqidah, their own belief. Lakum dinakum waliya din. Why should we fight about ahkam issues? You have to study the main reason for the marriage itself, how the marriage protects both gender, both sides, from falling into the acts of haram and immorality. unlike the other religions or faiths, or even non-religious societies, especially in the West, that they're open to all types of immoral relationships, as we see today. And now we have the same gender issue as well on the table again, discussions and issues. So we have, alhamdulillah, our own Sunnat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the Sunnah of the Rasul, especially the Mahr that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam established, Sunnah, Mahr Sunnah, as they say. So this is some kind of respect to them. It's opposite what this individual thinks, that this is to pay for to get something back from the woman, from their wife. No, alhamdulillah, we have our own sunnah from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Holy Quran, the seerah of the Imams, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, the seerah and the like of the ulama as well. So they have to study, how much this great religion has served the ummah, purified families, purified from the acts of immorality, in which they want to import it to our countries and societies, and which they did successfully, sadly, into all types of media.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna, could you please tell me the hijab we must observe with our adopted children, particularly a stepmother with her adopted son?
Of course, this son is not a biological or genuine son. If he reaches the age of discerning, they call it bulugh. They call it the age of discerning.
When they can tell right from
tamyiz, mumayyiz, ahsant. Then she needs to cover herself, her body from this young lad.
For about 7, 8 years old.
8, yeah.
When they learn that actually,
exactly.
They can tell what's right and what's wrong.
So yes, of course, he is not part of your family.
From YouTube, can I drink something that has less than 1% alcohol? Now, Sheikhna, let us assume that this is alcohol, it's been, what's the right way? It's considered alcoholic beverage. Not, let us say, certain juices have very, very low or a trace of alcohol naturally from making the juice and so forth. It happens. Well, we're talking about a beer can that says 0.5%, which is less than 1. 0.25% or something like that. Are we allowed to drink those drinks?
You see, if it's intoxicating alcohol, and there's a percentage of, even a drop of alcohol would make that drink najis and impure. It's like dropping blood, even a small amount of blood, urine. That would make this cup najis and impure. You can't drink a cup that has najasa, even a drop of najasa. So that's the issue. Second issue is that if the alcohol was industrial non-intoxicating alcohol, which we see in medicine, for example, other products. What Ayatollah Sistani mentions that up to 2%, if there's alcohol in such products, like, let's say medicine and so forth, you can drink it.
This is industrial alcohol?
Yeah, non-intoxicating alcohol.
Non-intoxicating alcohol.
Exactly. Otherwise, you have to mix it with water and so to avoid that issue.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna, follow up to the question. Why did some Maraja use the title Imam for themselves? They are neither God chosen or present Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sheikhna, an Imam, and it's used mainly in Iran. They'll say Imam Sheikh Wahid Khurasani or Imam Shirazi, they'll say, and so forth. Are we saying that these are Imams, like the 12 Imams? Or is this a different Imam? Like Imam of Jama'ah?
You see, Arabic language is a deep language in terms of the meanings, in terms of the different syntaxes used, for example, for each word, for example. You have, for example, the word ayn. Ayn means eyes.
Eye can mean spring.
You have 5, 6 meanings for the ayn.
Yeah.
Ayn could be eye. I mean, you can mention it.
Eye, spring,
yes.
Spy, the root. I can't remember the others. We learned about 6, 7.
Exactly. So
there's many meanings.
For the camel, since its birth till it dies, there's 70 names for camel. 70 names for just the camel. So you can see how Arabic language is so deep. So when it comes to the word Imam or even Ayatullah, ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا, that one of the Ayatullah Azza wa Jal is to create male and female to be married to, basically.
Yeah.
So you see that these are terms mentioned, even the Imam. We have A'immatul Jawr. A'immatul Jawr, the Imams of the vice and the tyrant. So it can be used as, no, even the Quran says A'immatul Jawr, you know, the Imams of the tyrant. So these can be used in anyhow. Of course, the actual misdaq and the real meaning of the Imam, of course, is the Ma'soom alayhi salam. You know, as I mentioned before, that Allah said to Ibrahim alayhi salam, "Inni ja'alika lin-nas imam." I appoint you as Imam over the people, because you've reached that level of becoming an Imam. And Imama is the greatest position after the prophethood. The Prophet and then Imam. So it's a great position, but as a word, as a term, no, it can be used Imam al-Jama'ah, Imam al-Nas.
Fair. More questions coming in, Sheikhna. Assalamu alaikum. Who can we contact for personal matters and questions? Wow. Depends on the issue. I mean, if it's medical, then obviously go see a doctor. If it's spiritual and religious, who should they contact for, you know, issues and so forth?
If you have a local center or mosque, you can refer back to the resident alim of that local center or mosque. You can ask him. Otherwise, there are offices of the maraji', representatives of the ulama around the Europe, around the world. You can contact them, ask them for your masail. They answer. Usually, they would answer.
No problem. Or you contact us here on Ahkam SOS. You can send your questions via the WhatsApp there below, scan the QR code. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, put your questions in the comment section. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Tell me something regarding haram relationships. You're going to go to hell if you have one, I guess. I'm joking. Sheikhna, it says here, something regarding to haram relationships.
As I mentioned before, as the Quran states, وَلَا مُتَّخِذِ أَخْدَانٍ, and do not consider friendship with the opposite gender. Very clear, and the Holy Quran is there, that one should not consider, if he's a male, a female friend who is not mahram to him, unless through an official nikah contract, aqid, be it a short or long term. Otherwise, this is, of course, would be some kind of haram relationship. You know, let's go out dating and restaurant and coffee shop and then here and there, and eventually ends to somewhere haram.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. My question is hunting deer for meat allowed? If so, when an animal is shot, it's most often never found alive. So when found, is the animal halal? Okay, so deer, ghazal, I think it's called in Farsi, or we say hidden in Urdu. When hunting one of those animals, Sheikhna, first of all, is that meat halal? Are we allowed to consume that meat?
I think we mentioned details about the conditions, because somebody asks about the conditions of hunting, and I mentioned a list of ahkam about, what makes that hunted animal eligible for consumption as halal. That the one who hunts should be a Muslim.
Yes.
And when shooting, he should say Bismillah.
Bismillah.
And then the tool or the gun or the bullet should be in a way that it would rip the flesh to be sharp. Anyhow, the arrow or the bullet to be sharp to enough rip through the flesh and kill the animal. Then it becomes halal. So yeah.
From YouTube, really good question, Sheikhna. And don't hold back on this one. Did the Holy Prophet boycott the enemies of Islam?
What kind of enemies of Islam? We had the mushrikeen in Mecca, and we had the Jews in Medina.
Yeah.
Of course, there was a war between the Meccan pagans, mushrikeen. In terms of boycotting, what does it mean by boycotting? Does that mean that there was no... Because he was sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a state of war with them, and the Sulh of Hudaybiyah was clear. There were conditions about how to deal with the mushrikeen.
So boycotting, Sheikh, means that you have no contact with them. You don't speak to them. You don't do business with them. You don't get involved with any of their affairs. Nor do they get involved with yours. Furthermore, you don't spend your money in their businesses and so forth. You clearly cut all contact and all relationships with this party. So Others would argue that, oh, you say the likes of Abu Bakr and Umar and so forth, these are the enemies of Islam and so forth. Then why didn't the Prophet boycott them and not speak to them? Why did the Imams refrain from speaking to them? There was interaction, there was dialogue.
You see, let's put aside the issue of the mushrikeen and the pagans who tried to destroy Islam and the Prophet and the Muslims. Because in the time of the war with the mushrikeen, things were different. They couldn't have any contacts, and it was some kind of war situation, war zone. But other than that, there were contacts with those who lived around the Medina, with the Christians, with the Jews. They used to buy, sell. People used to work with them. There was some kind of interaction with non-Muslims in that time, until they declared war. Of course, things would change afterwards. But other than that, they would live peacefully with the Muslims and the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And they had their own dealings, they had their own transactions. They were free to move and sell and buy and trade. So we don't see that, as you mentioned now, that things would be different if it was with wartime.
Sheikh, I believe we have a phone call. Inshallah, we're able to get through to the viewer. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us?
Well, brother. My name is Ali. Calling from Edmonton, Canada.
Okay, Canada, mashallah. Nice to hear from you, brother. Your question, please, to the Sheikh. You're live on Ahkam SOS.
My question is for the Sheikhana is what is the difference of hijab for women and men?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your question, and keep watching. Inshallah, the Sheikh will answer the question now. Sheikhna, the difference between hijab for men and women. There's obviously a physical hijab. Furthermore, there's also a social hijab. Nowadays, they said there is a online social media presence hijab as well, and so forth. But Sheikhna, the basics for physical and social hijab between men and women, what is the farq?
Well, initially, as the Quran mentioned, that both sides should lower their gaze when it comes to looking and interacting with the other side lustfully. They should lower their gaze, should not look with lustful looks. So this is the basis of the hijab on both sides, to be able to basically observe this kind of modesty and chastity when it comes to looking from both sides. And then we have the hijab of the sisters, for example, which is mentioned, asking behind a screen or a curtain, which is the hijab basically, that she covers herself. The only spots she can show is her hands and her face, and that should be covered with the covering in which would not show, the body curves and so on. When it comes to this, brothers, of course, they have to be also modest in terms of the clothing. They shouldn't come out with a trunk, for example. They have to observe, modesty in somehow in public, especially.
I guess I know one thing you always mention, Sheikh, is that the female shouldn't show off her figure, her curves. Is that the same for the men as well? Because I see sometimes men wearing very tight shirts, t-shirts and so forth, showing off their muscles, their gains that they're getting in the gym and things like that. Is that allowed, or is that because they're covered, it's okay, or no?
You see, one should be modest. As a believing man should be modest in anyhow, and should not cause some kind of facade or corruption or fitna within the society by wearing very loose clothes and so forth. And some parts would be very visible, some private parts would be very visible. That of course, is against the men's hijab when it comes to covering themselves with modesty.
Sheikh, we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue answering your questions and our discussion here on Ahkam SOS. Don't go anywhere.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of scholars.
Is it permissible to plant trees by or over
Islam
the
established based on peace and non-violence?
Is it permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim countries?
Is there an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155.
I I have a question regarding keeping pictures
Is
of
it
scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
What
over
Islam
the graves?
established based on peace
Is
and
it permissible
non-violence?
to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it
individuals?
permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 09 2155.
Yes, you can send in your questions via the WhatsApp number there below. Scan the QR code and I'll take you straight to the WhatsApp page. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to answer your question. If you want to call in, 0203 515 0199 if you're from the UK. And if you're outside the UK, you can use the WhatsApp number there. We had a lovely brother called in from Canada. And inshallah, we'll be more than happy to answer more of your calls. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, more questions coming in from our viewers. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. If I have made wudu and then doubt if you washed every inch on your face, even though you washed your face twice, do you ignore this doubt and continue with prayer?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Initially, we have a basis or قاعدة الفراغ من الفراغ, as they say. So the basis of when you have left an act, you've done something and you left, you moved to somewhere else, to other stage.
Continuation, yeah.
Now you have made your wudu. Let's say you went towards your prayer mat to pray and you have this doubt. This قاعدة الفراغ, it would wave. خلاص, you have to ignore your doubt.
Carry on.
Just carry on with the salah.
Keep going.
Ignore it, yeah.
Fair enough. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Why is it a non-Muslim's fault that he was born in a non-Muslim family? Why would he have to go to hell? Good question, Sheikhna. We are under the impression that, because I don't know, we are under the impression that we don't choose our parents or our families, whether we're going to be born in a Shia family or a Sunni family or a Christian family, whatever, atheist family. So if I'm born in an atheist family, I'm raised as an atheist and so forth, and I go and live my life, why is it my fault that I didn't come towards Islam? Why is it my fault that I'm going to go to hell now? I didn't choose my parents.
Well, initially, Allah Azza wa Jalla is wise and just. He would not let things to go just without any accountability, any kind of, non-wisdom acts. Na'udhu billah. Ta'ala Allah Azza wa Jalla. So that's number one. Number two, who said that those who are born as Christians or Jews or Hindus would eventually end up in hellfire? So where's Allah's justice? Where is Allah's mercy and rahmah?
Yes.
No, we have in the narrations that they would be resurrected on the Day of Judgment and will be offered another test because they couldn't be tested in this world. They died or killed as a result of, let's say, war and so forth. So they would be tested if they were not arrogant or stubborn on their belief, because sometimes you have people who are stubborn, like Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, those who were in the time of the Prophet, Abu Sufyan, who were stubborn and they fought with the prophets and they rejected his risala, and they knew that. As the Quran said, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَغْنَتْ أَنفُسُهُم. They knew it, but they ignored the risala of Allah. They are different. They go to hell, of course, definitely. Those who are stubborn, they know the truth, the haqiqah. We don't have anything to say to them. But majority are jahil qasir. In other words, they are ignorant and without knowing what's going on, what is the real message, the true belief, and they pass away. Allah's mercy, Azza wa Jal, would be that they would be tested on the Day of Judgment again and again to make sure that they get their position either in paradise or na'udhu billah in hellfire with Allah's wisdom and adl and mercy, inshallah.
From YouTube, Sheikhna, does a dead body feel pain? For example, if a dead body is harmed, will the person feel the pain?
When the soul is separated from the body, of course, the body is just a dead body, but the soul would be feeling the pain anyhow. So, because the body will be resurrected on the judgment, qiyamah, in which this body will be taken to na'udhu billah, hell or inshallah paradise with the body. So we believe in the ma'ad al-rawhani and jismani. So the resurrection of body and the soul on the day of judgment.
Wow. What is the ruling on creating horror games?
Whatever that causes corruption, harmful scenes, let's say harmful, hateful, let's say, and somehow causes corruption, causes harm, would not be allowed.
Or those of a sexual nature as well. From YouTube, should we not tell people about our upcoming projects due to evil eye? Good question. Sheikhna, should we not tell people, things that we're doing or projects that we're working with, just in case we get hasad or ayn or something like that?
No, in overall, this dunya is the dunya of bala, the dunya of testing, the dunya of difficulties. We're not here to receive Allah's gift. Paradise is where Allah has provided for the mu'mineen and mu'minat to receive the gift, Allah's gift, to grant His gift to His believers. So this dunya, you have to deal with it. This is how, ups and downs, you have to deal with it. Difficulties, you ask Allah Azza wa Jal. In difficulties, you recite some ad'iyah, give sadaqah, give to the charity, do good deeds, a'mal, to repel the bad and the evil eye, as mentioned.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. And Akhi. Alaikum salam. I'm having an issue with a guy who keeps telling me he wants to marry me and that he has the intention to, but I don't want to talk to him until he makes a halal move. Am I wrong? No, you are not, sister. Sheikhna, I'll let you take over. So, someone is interested in a female, in a sister, and keeps saying that he wants to marry her and so forth, and she doesn't want to do anything haram. And is that, so she's not talking to him. Is she doing the right thing? And what is the best way for them to move forward in a halal manner?
Initially, the prophetic hadith, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that whoever comes to you and he has akhlaq and deen, morality, ethics, manners, and faith and aqidah, then marry him. So two conditions, faith and moral aspects of this individual. And then the next stage, of course, if she was virgin, she needs the permission of her father for the purpose of marriage. Again, it's important to get the parents involved, the elderly involved, because they have more experience with this regard. So rather than you make your own choice and decision, it's better to get somebody elderly who has more knowledge, experience in terms of the marital life. They could advise you and guide you towards the right spouse.
So the best thing to do is get the parents involved.
Inshallah.
Give your father's number to the boy, let the boy's father contact the father or the mother's contact, and take it from there forward, inshallah. From YouTube, how is istighatha or rain prayer done? Can it be done alone or in jama'ah? The prayer for rain, istighatha, mustahab prayer, no, Sheikhna?
Yeah, they would go to the desert outside, in a plain land, and they would pray jama'ah, I think.
Is it normal 2 rakat like we normally pray?
I think so. I can't remember, but I think
so. We'll have to check on that one. What prayers does a female have to pray depending on when she has done ghusl? This is from YouTube.
In terms of prayers?
Yeah.
After the ghusl? What kind of ghusl?
This is after, I guess it's in regards to a cycle and so forth. You don't have to pray those prayers, no? They're not qadha, are they?
No, the salah is not qadha, just the fasting.
It's just the fasting is qadha, but not the prayers are not qadha. And I think maybe, it's time for dhuhr prayer and my cycle is complete. I've done ghusl and so forth.
Yeah, she's straight going to pray before the sunset or sunrise,
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Is it, from YouTube, is it permissible to celebrate birthdays with instruments?
As I've said before,
I'm assuming it's musical instruments.
Now, regardless of the ulama's fatwa with this regard, do not mix and engage the music with the anashid of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Keep it clear as it was before. Even if somebody says, that the classical music is halal, is permissible, do not mix it with the dhikr of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Keep it pure and simple.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Can you do wudu over a scab on the skin of wudu parts? Okay, that you need to ask a doctor first, because doing wudu and adding water or wiping over the scab may cause more damage and harm to your body. You need to see a doctor in regards to that. However, Sheikhna, if I've got scabs on my body, generally speaking, can I do wudu over the top of them? Is there any issue, Islamically speaking?
If there is, let's say, some kind of plaster or bandage on the hand, of course, the wudu becomes now, or even the ghusl becomes ghusl or wudu jabira, in which you have to gently wipe on the position which is covered by a bandage, for example, or plaster, and just normal wudu as it was before. Otherwise, if it's not necessary, of course, you have to remove it. If it's not harmful, you have to remove it, do wudu, and put it back again, as it was. Yeah.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Some people pray many rak'ah before Friday prayer. Should it only be 2, or should you pray after the Friday prayer is finished, and how many rak'ahs? Now this is, some people pray many rak'ah before Friday prayer. Should it only be 2? Okay, Sheikhna, I'm not sure particularly what they're trying to say, as in nafila before the Friday prayer, or are they talking about praying dhuhr after the Friday prayer, ihtiyat, just in case the Jummah wasn't accepted or the Jummah wasn't complete. I'm not sure. But should you pray after the Friday prayer is finished, or how many rak'ahs?
I mean, some ulama would say that as a mustahab, as a ihtiyat, it's not wajib to pray dhuhr again after you've prayed the Jama'ah Friday prayer. But as I've said before, it's wajib mukhayyar. You can choose between praying the dhuhr 4 rak'ah or the 2 rak'ah with the imam and with the
There's nothing
Jama'ah
prayed
as well.
before Jumu'ah prayer, is there?
I'm not sure, but we
haven't
have the
heard
nafila
or
of dhuhr and asr, which
Yeah.
is 8 rak'ah.
Which is in between the two.
Yeah, so one is with one.
Fair.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother and Sheikh.
Assalam.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Is it permissible to use perfume containing alcohol?
As mentioned before, most of the ulama would say that this type of alcohol, which is non-intoxicating alcohol, which is used in perfumes and shampoos and perfumes, is permissible and pure and tahir. There's no issue with it.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. What is the authentic way of doing istikhara?
I mean, we have the Quran way in which you recite some of the dhikr and surahs, and then you open the Quran, you see the first line on your right side, which tells if the khira is good or bad. Others would use tasbih in different ways. So different ways are used. But I would recommend for the one who wants to take istikhara is to see someone who's expert, a Maulana, a Sayyid, or a Sheikh, to have the accurate result. Sometimes they would explain, that this is good because of this and that. And some even have so much insight in terms of the khir. They can tell you what is, gives you the nearest of what you have intended for example. So let's say if it's for marriage, he would say, leave this individual, don't get married to this. They have this mashallah, this insight, this rawhaniya, they say.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I read that there are 4 Nabi who are still alive. 2 of them are on the earth, Nabi Khidr and Nabi Ilyas alayhi salam. Are they actually with the Imam Mahdi, Ajafar Sharif, may Allah hasten his reappearance?
I mean, it's mentioned about Khidr alayhi salam, that he would
return?
See the Imam occasionally, often, I don't know how many times, to, just, be with the Imam alayhi salam. Because the Imam salam is alone.
Very lonely.
In this world, with all these atrocities being committed every day around the world, and against the mu'minat, against the children and the women. So somebody who would calm down the Imam and speak to the Imam alayhi salam.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. What do you think of wearing amulet?
What's that exactly?
Amulet, I'm not sure. An amulet normally is like a necklace, isn't it? And it's like a little heart or something that you can open and close.
As long as it's not gold for the men, it's allowed.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Is it true that Abu Huraira used to fabricate hadiths? My question was skipped. Okay, but we do apologize because that's not on our behalf. Sometimes YouTube, with their policies and so forth, they cut your question out and things like that. So we do apologize. However, it's come through now. Salam Sheikhna, is it true Abu Huraira used to fabricate hadiths?
You see, when you study the history of Abu Huraira, when he became Muslim, at the very
last 3 years of the Prophet's life.
And he's got, I think, over
30,000, I think, hadith.
Thousands of hadith. Where did he bring them from?
It doesn't make sense.
And when you read them, you'll discover that unauthentic hadith. And of course, the hadith making machine began in the time of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He tried to basically remove the fada'il of Ahlul Bayt and bring the fada'il of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt.
Especially the Umayyads.
And the Prophet said that سَيَكْتُرُ مِنْ بَعْدِي الْكَذَّابَ, those who would lie would be increased after me, would lie, that the Prophet said such and such.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I would like to know, in life where you have to choose between your parents and husband, what do I choose? My parents don't like my husband and my husband doesn't want to see them. What do I do?
You have to balance. There's no choice. You don't want to lose your husband and destroy your life. And the children, of course, would be...
Sheikhna, I've seen this. This is very common. Sometimes there's no issue between the husband and wife, but the parents are getting involved and causing problems in the marriage. And likewise, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the husband is not nice with the in-laws. Sometimes it's vice versa. Sometimes it's the wife's parents who are not nice with the husband and so forth. I do believe that there comes a point in a person, he reaches an age of maturity and can tell whether the parents are being right or wrong. They can tell themselves, yes, your parents are your parents, respect is due. But if your father is wrong or your mother is wrong, there's a duty upon you to stand up to that wrong. Yes or no, Sheikhna?
Yes, indeed, as you've said. But we have to observe patience, sabr, very important. Forbearance, forgiveness. Try to act as a middleman between both sides. To be nice with your husband if you're a wife, or if you're a husband, to be nice with your wife, and to try and please her as well, and please him as well, and try to be good. Of course, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, be good with your parents as well. Try to be, the middleman, the wise man or the wise woman who would try to reconcile with both sides, inshallah.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I'm working in a company and supposed to shake hands with customers, male or female. If I don't do that, it would be considered impolite and there is a risk of losing my job and suffering the aftermath. What should I do? Well, you could wear gloves if you want, or you could tell them you got OCD and you don't shake hands. But Sheikhna, if you're forced to shake hands of the opposite gender at work?
Allah Azza wa Jal's rizq and sustenance cannot be bound or restricted in this job. You can find other jobs without any risk of falling into the act of haram. Find other jobs and then move on. If you can't shake hands with, let's say, gloves, as Brother Muhsin mentioned, which is as somebody is compelled to wear gloves and shake hands.
I think if you just tell them, I don't shake anybody's hands. I got
but if
OCD.
It's a daily job,
I've got OCD.
He's got
germs.
He's in a customer service position. That's the problem.
But it's considered a medical condition to have OCD, and it's accepted as well. If you're like, no, don't touch me.
It's difficult, morally would affect this individual. I think they have to change their job, and Allah Azza wa Jalla would, inshallah,
no problem.
Give them the rizq, inshallah.
More questions coming in. Sheikh, we've only got about 2-3 minutes left. Let's try and get these last 4 questions in. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. What if I do not contact my father? He is no longer present in our lives. How does marriage then work? If there's no father present and you want to get married and so forth, but the father has passed away or the father's not there, what do? I think you need to go see the grandfather, isn't it? The paternal grandfather.
Yeah, the father of the father.
And if the father of the father is not there, then it's up to the girl?
Yeah. Yes.
Fair. Is wearing taweez considered shirk? No, it's not.
Not at all. These are ad'iyah from the Holy Prophet or Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam for protection. You wear them to protect yourself from the evil eye, from all types of evil beings, let's say, around you.
Is choking my partner due to more enjoyment while being intimate haram? No, but if the ambulance has to get involved, then yes. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Which stones are the most mustahab to wear for men, especially other than the aqiq, yamani, kabidi? Is it mustahab for wearing multi-stone rings? Should the stone have no metal under? Right, we've always told Sheikhna about the aqiq, but there are other ones as well. Yaqut, Feroza,
which is the light blue one.
light blue one, and there's emerald. There's so many, jade, and so forth. Which ones are recommended?
I mean, the aqiq is the famous one, and you have the Feroza, which is the light blue one as well. But I mean, what's important for the one to have a ring? You know, one of the signs of the mu'min mentioned in the hadith of Imam Hussein, that 5 signs of the mu'min. والتختم باليمين is to have a ring in the right hand and not left hand, which is the sign of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt.
Last one, Sheikhna, from WhatsApp. Can I play chess? No, you cannot. Haram. Sheikhna?
Yes, indeed, as you said, the majority of the ulama today and in the past
would
say it's forbidden because we have specific narrations, nas. When you have nas in a narration and sayings from Ahlul Bayt that this is haram, you have to avoid. So you have the narrations which forbid and the fatwa of the ulama which is based on these narrations. I think I brought one of the verses of the Quran. فاجتنبوا الرجس من الأوثان واجتنبوا قول الزور. الرجس من الأوثان, the Imam says it's chess. Abomination of the idols. So they must say the meaning of this. Idols is what? Is chess. So we have to stick with the right of Ahlul Bayt. Now, yes, it is some kind of a game, gives some kind of, I don't know, brainstorming.
Yeah, I mean,
strengthens. We have to stick with the hadith of Ahlul Bayt. We don't know the wisdom behind.
I mean, there's benefits in drinking wine, but if you abuse it, it can destroy your body, and unfortunately, no one can, drink wine in what's it called? With limits and so forth, and therefore it's causing more damage and destruction to the body, and therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it fully haram. Same with chess, at the end of the day, there may be benefits to it, but we have specific hadith specifically mentioning chess, not talking about games with gambling. No, it mentions chess, with the board and the pieces and so forth, saying it's forbidden, it's haram, you can't play it.
In the Quran as well, in terms of the alcohol, you mentioned the wine. That the ayah mentions that the harm or the damage of the alcohol is more than benefits. There's a benefits, of course. You get money. The wine business, the alcohol business is a multi-million pound and dollars in the world.
One glass of wine will reduce the stroke in the heart and so forth. But the issue was no one can drink in moderation. That was the problem, and it was like, look, you guys can't control yourselves. I've given you a chance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, increase the law from permissible to don't attend to the mosque drunk to full ban. You guys are not listening. You guys cannot control your drink. And on that note, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. Thank you to Sheikhna for all your time and effort and research. Thank you to all those who joined and watched and called in. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be back next week, Monday, 7 p.m. here on Imam Hussein TV. Until then, take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.